A lot of the internet is buzzing about the newest installment in the Netflix series Monster. In this case, it's the Ed Gein story. I've watched the whole thing and I definitely have thoughts on it. Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Yes, so just so you know, I mean, there's a lot on the internet, you know, people being outraged by the series just as a whole thing, you know, the whole TV show as a concept. I absolutely understand that. Have to admit though, I myself have always had a sort of morbid fascination with these really out there people, serial killers, you know, trying to understand, wrap my head around how their brains could work and why they would do the things that they did, right? So yes, unapologetic, I watch these things. Haven't seen all of them, I must admit. I mean, I also definitely covered the series on Jeffrey Dahmer that they did, with Evan Peterson in the main role. I've done that because that, to me, really was outstandingly done. There's one main difference between that and this, a few differences, but one thing that really strikes me is because that was very based on fact, right? Because especially with Jeffrey Dahmer, there was just so much data that they had. They knew the exact, you know, on various days, the exact series of events and times and all these kind of things. Obviously, these shows, you have to have some kind of personal, let's call it interpretation of events, or you have to fill the blanks with dialogue and all these kind of things. Obviously, these things are fabricated, so you always have to have it in mind. But, you know, at least when it got to the facts of the case, it felt very, you know, like it was. And it was just overall very well done. That's not the case here. I'm going to get into that more in detail later, but that was one of the main things, right? So I really like the Jeffrey Dahmer thing. I didn't see the Lyle and Eric Menendez thing, you know, I didn't watch that. I mean, people were very outraged about that, I believe, and people are very outraged about this one on Ed Gein, and I actually understand because I'm a bit disappointed by the whole thing. Just to give you the most brief review, I felt it disappointing because there was a good opportunity here, I feel, to really, similarly to Jeffrey Dahmer, really dig into reality, and we kind of got a bit far away from that, okay? So, that, you know, that about how much I've seen of the previous Monster installment. So, like I say, this one is about Ed Gein, and if you're not familiar with Ed Gein, I mean, blessed are you. Don't know if you want to familiarize yourself with Ed Gein. He was probably the first, or one of the first, serial killers in the USA that was really, you know, really got into, I'll call it the public knowledge, you know, into pop culture, as it were. So he was active in the 50s. It's a very strange case where he obviously got quite a lot of psychological damage from his mother, who, you know, told him how to live and stay away from people, and everyone is being very religious, everyone else is very sinful, you know, stay away from them, they'll corrupt you, blah 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 blah. And this seemingly turned into some form of schizophrenia for him. So he idolized his mother, and if you're not familiar, he actually went about digging up graves in the night of freshly buried bodies, women, and would cut them up, use their skin to make, I don't know, lampshades or you know, chairs. He used them for chairs. He had a belt with nipples. Sorry, by the way, if you're if you're a bit squeamish on that, you know, sorry, I suppose this is a bit late for a trigger warning or so, but you know, it goes on and on. He did so many different things, but ultimately, I suppose the most famous thing is that he tried to piece together a suit, trying to sort of make a woman's suit, I'll call it that. He then wanted to climb into to sort of be or become his mother, right? That's my knowledge of what it is, right? So obviously there's a lot more information out there if you want to familiarize yourself with it. He also killed people. How many is unproven and will probably remain unproven forever. Yeah, because there are a lot of strange disappearances that also appear in this show. They give you some outright explanations for it, but again, because it's never really been confirmed, it's all very speculative, right? Yeah, so that's you know, the story on the real Ed Gein. So this show, it's got 8 episodes, and you know, I feel like with all this stuff that they're trying to add in, etc., I felt first of all it would have been good to shorten it, because if you just focus on Ed Gein himself, there's not really that much there when you look at this show. I mean, because we're so focused on other people, what they are doing, and then again, there's just a lot of own speculation going on. So the show's creator, Ryan Murphy, and I suppose anyone who actually helped him write it or create it, you know, they've taken a lot of creative liberty here to fill in many, many blanks. You know, his girlfriend, they turn into this sort of psychopath, basically, who loves photographing dead people and stuff like that as a morbid fascination, etc. While maybe, you know, there was something there, just the lengths they go to give this character more in the show, etc. It's a bit very, very strange, if you ask me. One thing they do I actually like, but they overdo it in my opinion, is they try to show Ed Gein's influence on popular culture. Because if you're not familiar, he, as you can imagine with what I described earlier, has influenced quite a lot of stuff, especially in the horror world, but also in music and other places. Most famously, and that is what they show here as well, you've got films like Psycho or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, Leatherface, and Silence of the Lambs. If you've seen that, you'll obviously recognise parts of what I described earlier, you know, from that film. Yeah, he's influenced those and many, many more. Those are just very famous examples. I mean, I myself, for instance, I'm a fan of the band Mudvayne, a heavy metal / new metal / proggy metal band. They've got a song called Nothing to Gain, which is about Ed Gein, you know. So yeah, I've known about him for quite a long time. And while it's cool they show, you know, these things, and they show you like some parts of, you know, Alfred Hitchcock and when Psycho came out and reactions in the cinema and all that. I mean, I like the nods to it, but then it's like we spend half an episode with Alfred Hitchcock and you're like, this is the Ed Gein story. Why are we focused on Hitchcock all of a sudden, you know, and his making of Psycho? Or later you've got, I believe the director's name is Ted Hooper, if I'm not mistaken, for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then we see how that was made. And it's like, you know, it's great that you're showing, because some people might not realize these connections, you know, and that they were influenced by Ed Gein. But it's like, why are we spending so much time with them? You know, it felt very strange to me. So, you know, they've tacked on a lot, and then they've filled in so many blanks just with things that they came up with. And this show, you know, Monster, it gets the criticism a lot that are kind of glorifying the killers and stuff like that, you know, that they're trying to make them sympathetic and all these things. For Jeffrey Dahmer, that, for me at least, was not the case. You know, I felt so creeped out by him. He just seemed like such a sinister person, and I felt, you know, that was the vibe I got from Evan Peterson portraying him. And just to be clear here, Charlie Hunnam does an incredible job here. I mean, he is creepy throughout. People are going on about his voice because Ed Gein supposedly was soft-spoken, but it does feel a bit like Charlie Hunnam had his own interpretation. Allegedly, he was given there wasn't a lot, but some audio material to work with to, you know, develop the voice for Ed Gein. All I can say is he definitely plays it well, right? So he himself as an actor is doing a great job. The writers, I feel, are really, I don't know, it feels like they're going to great lengths to actually kind of try and sympathize them, especially towards the end. It gets very crazy towards the end, right? And it's almost like, oh, you know, you want to feel sorry for him, which I'm sorry you really don't. Because, I mean, obviously schizophrenia is a really serious condition and everything, but, you know, we must not forget he actually did horrible things to deceased people, to real people, you know. So yeah, that in this case, I feel that criticism is really warranted, you know, because it does at times feel like, are we kind of fetishizing these these serial killers? Like I say, I've always had a morbid fascination here myself, so, you know, I mean, you might be calling me a hypocrite or something, but, you know, I'm still clearly distinguishing that because, again, he was a monster in certain ways, and I don't see how you would feel sorry for him, right? So I'm really a bit disappointed that they really took a very, very fantastical approach, in, you know, in terms of fantasy with this, because I feel like it was a good opportunity to really get down to just the facts and portray them, right? Again, I know you need to fill in some blanks, but why force it? Why force it and then go really out there? You know, just try and stay rather grounded, because we must not forget this was a real person, you know? So it's like, because a lot of people will watch this and they'll be like, this is what happened, you know, because unfortunately many people don't go and do their own research. So they'll be like, oh yes, and all these things, that was exactly what happened. I watched the Netflix thing, that's what happened, you know, that was his story. You know, and that's the kind of problems we get into. So, very disappointed. I mean, if you want to watch, like I say, Charlie Hunnam's performance is incredible. I thought he was really great. I enjoyed watching him as Ed Gein. He really creeped me out, you know, in many ways. I think he did the role brilliantly. It looks great, you know, but when it comes to these historical things, etc., that really put me off. And like I say, all the stuff they came up with, which there is little to no basis for in reality. So yeah, a bit disappointed by this. I was hoping on more. I don't know, they're continuing the series, so we'll, I mean, obviously, because I mean everyone's talking about it, so I guess Netflix is happy, you know. But here's hoping that the next one, you know, sticks a bit more to reality and they focus on that and really just try to tell reality, because that's the thing. Reality here was creepy enough in this story. You did not need to put all these embellishments on it, right? And really take it to another level. Anyway, that's all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about anything you want to say about, well, the Monster series, or particularly the Ed Gein story, anything else, you know, we talk about the real life stuff. I mean, like I say, I'm generally interested and still cannot understand why he did what he did. But anyway, anything you want to say, put it down in the comments below. I'll thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care. Bye.